Welcome to the History Channel. Today's episode will focus on gaining an understanding of the United States and the global community. Several of these topics will include how new patterns of minority relations and immigration reshaped the social fabric of America, the ambitions, character, and political agenda of President Clinton, ethnic and nationalistic conflicts in the world during the 1990s, the impact of the internet and terrorism in our global age. We hope you enjoy today's presentation.
The Immigration and Naturalization Act of 1965 abolished an earlier quota system based on national origin and established a new immigration policy based on reuniting immigrant families and attracting skilled labor to the United States. Over the next 4 decades, the policies put into effect in 1965 would greatly change the demographic makeup of the American population, as immigrants entering the United States under the new legislation came increasingly from the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America, as opposed to Europe. Immigrants came in new and large numbers, along with immigrants from Mexico coming both illegally and legally. About 7 million legal and illegal immigrants arrived in the United States between 1975 and 1995. Because of new and faster means of transportation and communication, these most recent immigrants have found it much easier to maintain cultural links with their countries of origin than immigrant groups of America's more distant past. The religions of America also grew, as these new immigrants brought with them Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, and Islamic beliefs.
The first baby boomer to become president was William Jefferson Clinton in 1993. His wife, Hillary Clinton, was constantly involved in political activity throughout Clinton's presidency. They both supported women's rights and the decision made in Roe v. Wade. One of President Clinton's goals for his presidency was to reduce economic debt and to reform the welfare and health care systems. One of his first reforms was the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. This allowed homosexuals to join the army as long as they didn't tell anyone that they were homosexual. Later, when Bosnia became a country, the Serbs began an ethnic cleansing of the Bosnians in order to strengthen the control on that region. In 1995, Clinton supported the NATO bombing of the Serbs, and the Bosnians began to push the Serbs back. The Serbs eventually decided peace was the best option, so peace talks began in Dayton, Ohio. The Albanians began to rebel against the Serbian government. The Serbians then began to commit terrible atrocities in order to keep control of that region. Clinton responded to those atrocities by supporting another NATO bombing campaign, which forced Serbians to allow NATO to occupy Kosovo. Clinton's major failure in foreign peacekeeping was when he did not send in American troops to stop the Rwandan genocide. President Clinton's second term is most well known for his sexual scandal.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Miss Lewinsky that was not appropriate. In fact, it was wrong.
Starr had found tapes that provided proof of President Clinton having sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. Starr then requested for impeachment for his personal conduct and lying under oath. However, the president was never impeached.
At the end of the 20th century, Americans had become reliant upon and linked to a global communications network, or more simply put, the internet.
On your mark, get set. We're riding on the internet, cyberspace, set free. Hello, virtual reality.
Interactive appetite, searching for a website, a window to the world, got to get online.
Take a spin, now you're in with the techno set. You're going surfing on the internet.
New devices included personal computers, cell phones, pagers, and many others, which enabled us to have an almost instantaneous contact with one another. Being halfway around the world from somebody no longer seemed all that far away. A lot of these technologies were a result of the developments of the microchip. In 1998, electronic commerce had generated about 500,000 jobs for Americans.
Our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing, have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and a quiet, unyielding anger.
September 11th, 2001. The hijacking of 3 planes by al-Qaeda for use as an attack on the World Trade Center and Pentagon left approximately 3,000 dead and our nation badly shaken. These attacks brought new life to the Bush administration. The new agenda at home consisted of finding new ways to increase production instead of conserving energy, and a new educational program that failed to be supported financially, the No Child Left Behind program. In foreign affairs, even before 9/11, the president had a unilateral approach of alienating many other nations. However, after 9/11, the unenthusiastic international community was rallied to support the United States and the Bush efforts in the war on terror. The global pressures that had led to the rise of terrorist movements resulted in a threat that could and did result in attacks in nations across the globe. Utilizing weapons and training they had received during the Cold War, groups such as al-Qaeda created a global terrorist strategy motivated by religious values derived from an extremely conservative reading of Muslim sacred texts.
We will not falter, and we will not fail. Peace and freedom will prevail.
The Taliban claims Osama bin Laden was unhurt in the raids, and the world waits for the next move. The United States had always warned the events of September 11 would not go unanswered. Unleashing its wrath, America, with the help from Britain, has struck at Taliban targets and terrorist training camps across Afghanistan.
The Bush administration's offensive against terrorism began in October 2001 with an invasion of Afghanistan, whose leaders refused to expel Osama bin Laden and other terrorists harbored within their borders. Fears of further terrorism at home, fueled by an anthrax virus scare, led to the implementation of the USA Patriot Act, a law that broadly expanded government powers to investigate private citizens' activities to further the cause of fighting terrorism. The initial invasion of Iraq succeeded with remarkable speed and precision, but the occupation of the conquered nation proved far more difficult than the administration had foreseen. By the fall of 2006, the transformation of the insurgency in Iraq into a civil war cemented the collapse of what had previously seemed impregnable Republican majorities in both houses of Congress. The apparent overreaching of American power in Iraq appeared to have once again established the limits of American power in an increasingly global and uncertain world.
Thank you for tuning in to this special feature on the United States in a global community. I'm Andrew Hall from the History Channel. Thanks for tuning in. Don't have a great night. Have an American night.